My parents are looking to reconcile with me after 10 years of no contact following my sister's arrest and placement in a mental health facility. My parents and I had not spoken in 10 years until they first reached out to me about a month ago. Given my age, I'm aware that sounds strange, but I'll fill you in on why. My parents originally had 3 children. My older brother, who was 1 year old at the time, passed away from cancer while my mom was pregnant with me, and my sister was 3 years old. My brother's death was obviously very traumatic for my parents. It made them hold on a little too tightly, and it also made them reluctant to face reality when my sister started developing very clear signs of mental illness. I was too young when it all started, but I was told she showed many signs of paranoia at a very early age. She was also very antisocial and struggled to build relationships and make friends. She started hurting animals when she was 7 or 8 years old, and she would have violent outbursts at random times. She also started hurting me when I was 3 or 4 years old. I don't remember much from back then, but after a few months, I can remember her being absolutely terrifying. When she was really hurting me and trying to do crazy things with me, like using weapons, she would be talking to herself. There were times when she would accuse me of saying and doing things that I had never said or done. She would say things like, "I know what you did, I could hear you," or, "I saw you." My parents would beg me to keep what happened a secret, and they would feed me lies to tell adults who asked about the cuts and bruises I had, or why I wasn't sleeping and always looked exhausted. They would cry and say that we couldn't lose my sister after we had already lost my brother. I was so afraid of them hating me that I lied for them. At that time, my parents didn't really have much of a relationship with my paternal grandparents. When my mom was pregnant with me, they stopped talking except for once a year, and I didn't meet my grandparents until I was a little older. My mom's family, however, was always around, and they all knew what was going on. One time, my sister got her hands on one of our cousin's rabbits and left its body in horrific condition. I only saw it briefly, but it's still so strange to imagine a child as young as she was doing something like that. Because of that, my mom's family kept their distance, and they ignored me whenever I said she was hurting me too. I think they believed I was crazy for asking for their help when my sister was such a risk, and my parents were burying their heads in the sand because of their grief. A few years later, my sister was hurting herself all the time, and she had collected a number of knives that she used to do it. One day, she became extremely agitated, and my parents never warned me. I came home from school, and apparently I made too much noise or something, so she attacked me with one of her knives. I had to be taken to the hospital, and CPS was called once I arrived there. When I was interviewed, I told them everything that had happened and everything that had been happening for years. I was taken into foster care, and I believe my sister was left with my parents. She might have been removed briefly, but either way, she eventually continued living with them after I was removed. My paternal grandparents were contacted, finally learned everything that had been happening, and agreed to take me in. There was a big fight between them and my parents. I was kept out of it, but I knew something serious had happened. I assume that's why my parents never reached out to ask me to lie anymore. Either way, we had no contact at all after that, and my grandparents helped me heal. Around a year ago, I saw an online report about my sister being arrested. I read the reports as they became available and watched everything unfold from a distance. She was found guilty of the crimes she committed, and finally, after way too long, she was sent to a mental health facility instead of prison. To me, that made sense, and I think it's the best place for her because the people there have the training to deal with someone like her. It also keeps her away from people who wouldn't have any idea what to do. Just reading about it made me feel safer. 2 days after she was sentenced, my parents reached out and asked if we could talk, reconcile, and work through our differences. Each time they have contacted me, they've changed their wording slightly. Every time, they tell me they miss me, they love me, and they want to repair our relationship. I'm not sure I've healed enough to know what I should do, and I don't attend therapy anymore, so I can't speak to a therapist about this right now. But I wanted some opinions on whether I should try to have a relationship with them or not. One of the reasons I'm even considering it is because of my brother and what I know his loss did to my parents. They failed me, and they were wrong in so many ways, but I understand where it came from. At the same time, I also don't feel like I have anything to say to them.